Hey everyone, it's Travis, Pagan Scholar, and today we're going to be talking about another topic for the ABCs of contemporary paganism. So this will be a little bit different from the other topics within contemporary paganism that I've been discussing, because today I wanted to posit that this topic, represented for the letter K, is actually incompatible with contemporary paganism. So for the letter K, I wanted to discuss knighthood, or knights. I know that as a caveat, not all contemporary pagans read tarot cards. Tarot cards are not inherently pagan, or maybe they are. That's a different kind of conversation to have. But I know that the images that I'm going to be using interspersed throughout this video are not representative of all pagans, but I am going to go out on a limb and say that a lot of people know about these symbols that I'm showing, and so that's why I've got these tarot cards interspersed throughout this video. So first we have to figure out, what do we associate with knights? We associate codes of chivalry, we associate honor and all those honorable ideals and virtues. And we also like to think of defenders, people who are defending something. Well, what is that something? Yes, there is knights of like a realm, of defending a land, but also we think of knights as defending some sort of faith. So then we have to discuss why there is a placeholder for a person to defend, to be the defender of a religion. So one of the things that religions do for people is it creates an us versus them mentality. It says that there are some that are saved and some that are not, or there are some that are enlightened and some that have yet to be enlightened. It's a division, it's a community builder, and it's something that it's an identity former. I can identify as X, Y, or Z religion. And so these religions, in establishing that us versus them mentality, usually call upon some form of defender to defend them because their cause is just. This defense person is the knight. This can take an aggressive form in terms of a crusader, or it could take a more benign, benevolent, or protective form, as in just a defender of the faith or of the people of the faith. So yes, contemporary paganism doesn't really have missionaries, it doesn't really have crusades, it doesn't like try to convert other people. Contemporary paganism is much more a steward of the earth, I guess, religion, at least in America. It kind of latched on to the eco-protection, eco-friendly craze to grant itself legitimacy. And so the knights of contemporary paganism are much more geared towards like activism and social justice and things like that. However, this is not like a knight in the sense that we're discussing, that we're familiar with, the Knights of King Arthur. That's because knighthood, in this classical sense and in the sense represented by these tarot cards that I'm showing you, knighthood is something that is conferred upon you. It is bestowed upon you. It is a title granted upon an individual by an accepted authority. Red flags for contemporary pagans, because there is no accepted authority within contemporary paganism. Built into the very framework of contemporary paganism is this idea that do as thou wilt and that shall be the whole of the law, or harming none, do as thou wilt. This is a religion that is very much geared towards individual personal gnosis. I know that there are Reconstructionist groups, there are groups that are not all about individual gnosis or idiosyncratic practice. There are people that are trying to form guidelines and frameworks for an established community religion. However, I am still going to say that contemporary paganism is the individual's religion. It is the religion of crafting your own spirituality. And I know that spirituality and religion are two different things, but we're not getting into that right now. In layman's terms, as a functional way that we can work with contemporary religions and contemporary paganism, I'm going to posit that, yeah, contemporary paganism is a religion of the individual. So this individual's right to either proclaim themselves a knight or to name others knights in their community, that's great, but nobody beyond that individual has to recognize that authority. Whereas with other religions, you have more numbers, you have an established ethos or a history, and you have people who are all willing to accept the authority of the one person who has decided that this person is going to be a knight. I know very few people who would have enough authority and I don't know, charismatic moxie to declare a knight of paganism that everybody would follow. Another factor to take into account as to why knighthood and the concept of a knight is sort of, if not incompatible, then very incongruous with contemporary paganism, is the style, I guess, of paganism. Contemporary paganism favors ulterior modes of power and subversive practices, I guess, because again, just like tarot cards, not all contemporary pagans are witches, and not all witches are contemporary pagans. Splitting hairs, it's fine. I understand, like, we need to be accurate, but again, to paint with a broad brush, I'm going to say that a lot of contemporary pagans are aware of witchcraft and are aware of the practices of people who claim to be witches. And there is a huge overlap between pagans and witches. In fact, there's even a publication called Pagans and Witches. So witchcraft in and of itself is a subversive practice against patriarchy and against capitalism and against overarching systems of authority and power. Yeah, that's a completely different video. However, witchcraft in and of itself is a subversive form of authority, and it is a subversive form of action, of retaliating against oppressors. Witchcraft is, again, inalienably associated with the feminine. The feminine is, well, thanks to patriarchy, the feminine is lesser, and so we have to find ways for the feminine to assert their dominance over patriarchy, over overarching systems of authority. And witchcraft is not like an overt physicality thing. It's getting back at your assailant through spells or poisons or subversive and ulterior modes of power and violence. Instead of, you know, throwing a brick through their through their window, you're throwing a brick through their astral window. I don't know. But it's sort of paralleled in other things. So like a burglar is going to bash down your door and hold you at gunpoint and take your stuff. So that's an overt masculine force of dominance. Whereas a thief is going to sneak into your house and steal things from you, and that is an ulterior or subversive form of dominance, of getting back at somebody. You know, a samurai, a warrior, a knight is going to challenge you in a honorable duel, whereas an assassin is going to sneak into your house and stab you while you're sleeping. So a witch or a magic user or a person who is dedicated to a god who is pagan and who feels that petitioning individual or different deities will get things done just like a knight would get things done with the sword, that is... It's contemporary paganism distances itself from that physical overt action. And again, knights are associated with very physical and the physicality of things. Even in the tarot, we can rank the different knights and the different suits according to how fast they get things done and how physical they are in the world. So whenever I say that the style of contemporary paganism is kind of at ends with the idea of knighthood, it's because knighthood and that very physical realm of doing things isn't the first, like, choice for most pagans, I would say. So this gets really interesting whenever you take into account the different war deities that are worshipped in contemporary paganism. One of the most popular ones, or easy to name off the cuff, would be the Morrigan as a war goddess, as triplicate, or however. I am not a dedicant of the Morrigan, so I am not well versed. However, as a war goddess, her followers are sometimes called warriors of the Morrigan. They take on that archetype of the warrior. However, again, a warrior and a knight are still completely different things. A knight is an ordained and named thing by a communally recognized source of authority, like the Queen or the Pope, or, I mean, whatever huge leader is going to be dishing out titles. That's where that authority of knighthood comes from. Whereas, again, in individual practice of worshiping the Morrigan or of worshiping whatever other war deity there is, there isn't really a centralized person of authority to say, yes, you are now a knight of Ares. You are now a knight of Odin. You are now a knight of X, Y, or Z, whatever war god or goddess that you are worshiping. We lean in contemporary paganism to this religion, this spirituality, this path of individual growth as opposed to communal growth. And that's just kind of incompatible with contemporary paganism, because the knight serves the community, yes, but the knight is ordained by another higher individual so they can serve under the title of knight. So to sum up briefly my bullet points, knighthood is kind of incompatible with contemporary paganism because there is no centralized authority. Paganism doesn't actually want to be spread around. It doesn't want missionaries or crusaders. Eco-warriors or social justice warriors, while they do overlap with knights are much more grounded in the realm of the physical, and as protest can be quite physical, protest is not violence, protest is something else, whereas knighthood is much more a defending quality. It's much more of a maintaining the status of the community or preserving the community, whatever community that is. And finally, the archetypes, the style of contemporary paganism favors more subversive forms of reaction and empowering action, as opposed to overt physical dominance, which is much more linked to patriarchy and just more overt forms of power and response. This video was kind of all over the place, so please give me your feedback. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not like a scholar on knighthood, on chivalry. I think I have a copy over there of La Mort d'Arthur, but I have never read it because it's just something that looks really nice on my bookshelf. So if anybody is a knight enthusiast, if we have any sirs or dames watching, please, I would love to hear your responses. And yeah, let me know what you think about knighthood within contemporary paganism. If you think it's compatible, if you think it's not compatible, if you think that there are knights of contemporary paganism, what would they do? What is their role in contemporary paganism? Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you liked this video. Like is appreciated, a subscription even more so. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.